But let's talk about YG. So, I'm sure that you've heard about, well, some of you already said yes, you've heard about YG Entertainment closing its actors management. And the thing is that they actually have been closing some of their divisions for quite a while now. They, back in 2017, they opened a food division, and they wanted to create like restaurants. They open cafes, and they have several locations in Korea, and they also have several locations in other parts of the world. The difference is that um the one in Jeju is kind of built like the Disneyland of K-pop. So there's like theme parks. There's also a museum. Some of the artworks allegedly of G Dragon was actually in this area. And this is the last venture of YG that G Dragon blessed. So before he actually enlisted, the location opened. So there was a blessing and whatever the launch, and he was there. And then after that, he enlisted. So people were going to the venue to look at his artworks. And then they had some like rides, like it's like a theme park. And I thought that their target was to become like the Disney of K-pop. So they started closing 2018. So they opened 2017. They started closing their food business 2018, and then it was succeeding, first in Seoul, and then Jeju, and then other countries. So they weren't really doing so good in this venture. They ran a deficit of 3.2 billion in the first year of their operations. They said that it was primarily because of Songri. Um, the After the scandal was revealed, he also has his own restaurant, the Ayori Ramen, and that started a string of losses for YG and for him. So Ayori Ramen went down, and then the food business of YG started going down. So they closed that. And the last one of the last ones that closed was the one in Malaysia, I think. Okay. Now after that, that's when they closed the sports business. And allegedly, it's not just a golf business. They were targeting to become, like, to manufacture sports products, like to become the Nike of Southeast Asia, and then eventually compete with Nike globally. That's the kind of positioning that they wanted. Um, so they said that YG was enjoying, in this article, and this is a good read because they analyzed the business side and how they actually started losing money. They said that YG was enjoying its heyday 4 years ago when it took over Greenworks, 31.5 billion. So when they bought the golf business, it was actually making money. And it was when Big Bang was all also at it was also at its peak. Now, when they started going down, the I mean, when Big Bang started enlisting in the military, then the company started tanking. So first half of 2024, they decreased. Sorry, this is 2022. They decreased 67.34%. So it was not profitable at all. So they were forced to close it down. So, um, oh, sorry. Okay. So after that, they closed Studioplex. After the golf business, they closed Studioplex. And this is the production company of YG. So they produced several hits and a lot of misses. One of the hits was Mr. Queen, and it was about this president's chef, the chef of the president, who traveled back into the Joseon dynasty and found himself having to marry this woman named Soyoung. It enjoyed viewership in the first episode and ended with 17.37% viewership. And this was a hit because this was shown in a what do you call this? Cable TV. So it was a big massive hit for them. It became the fifth highest premiere rating for the network. However, they also had misses. So, Joseon Exorcist, for example, was canceled only after two episodes. Yes, Mr. Queen is really good. So, they said it's also on Netflix now. Joseon Exorcist was canceled after two episodes. So, they had like hits and then they also had misses. However, they started also declining. 2021 revenue was 16.6 billion Korean won, approximately 12.2 million. And then 2023, it went down approximately 95%. So, and they also had the debt to equity ratio of 800%. And so they had no choice but to close it at the end of 2023. After that, now they're closing the YG Entertainment actor management. Uh, I is this girl familiar to you? This is Suga's friend. This is Suga's friend. Hi, Juveline. So now she doesn't have she so what's going to happen is that they are going to let the contract run, but they won't renew. So that will be so it's not like they're firing everybody. They're just going to let the contract run, but they will not renew everybody. Right now, all they have would be Blackpink, the group, not the individual careers of the members. They just have the group itself. They have Baby Monsters and they have Treasure. Okay. They also still have a winner, but they're not doing anything with them. So this used to be the structure of YG Entertainment. So you have YG Entertainment, and then you have YG inside YG. They have an in-house team of producers, dancers, and people that take care of the audition. And then under that, they have two labels, the Black Label, which now became independent. They still own majority of it, but he basically are now he meaning Teddy, who is the CEO of Black Label. He's operating independently of YG Entertainment. And then you have YGX, which is the dance studio, the dance group of YG. And then YG Plus. If you would remember, YG Plus is the company where Hybe actually invested in. Under YG Plus, they have several other companies. YG Ad, YG Select, all of that are closed now. And then they have Studioplex. So this is the production company. They have YG Foods. This is now closed. They have YG Foundation, which is the nonprofit, and then they have branches in different parts of the world. So if do you notice anything in the way that they structure their company? It's very similar to how Hive is actually structured. So I think they wanted to actually become a conglomerate. It's just that they weren't able to push it through. They didn't make it there, not quite. Um, as the someone was asking, Fairlane, the acting division of YG, did they all sign with other representatives? No word yet, but it seems that according to YG, they're going to let the contract run. So they won't fire the actors. They will let it run. They just won't renew. Now, if you are a smart actor, you're probably just going to, as soon as you can, look for an agency and try to set yourself free from that contract with YG. And if they're any decent, then they should allow you to actually go. Isn't Jenny with Black Label? That's Rosie. Rosie is with Black Label. Do you know if they still have YG plus printing? Because a lot of the big albums are printed by them, I think. No, that already closed. The one that they have right now, which is the company that Hybe invested in, is YG Plus, the distribution company. That is still very much open. Do you know? Okay, Jenny has her own company for her solo projects. Yes, she has her own I don't quite remember the name, but she does have her own company. Everyone does have her own company, except that Rosie signed with Black Label for distribution. BTS Forever 7, yeah, especially since our Meow gives a mature vibes law. Yeah. So now the thing is, I think what happened is that instead, for Hype, they went for innovation. That's how they innovated and expanded, right? So they went into gaming, they went into production, they went into other IPs. As we know, they have BT21 for BTS. They're developing something, the same thing for other groups. So basically, what they went for was innovation. They looked into the future and they're looking to invest in the future. That's why they are heavy in IP. Um, Metaverse, NFTs. So they went heavy, and gaming. They went heavy with that because they know that that's where the system is going to be in the future. However, for YG, the strategy is to go high end and exclusive. So while Hive was pursuing innovation, YG was pursuing positioning. It was market positioning that they were after. The problem was, I think that their primary target was to become like the Disney, but high end and mature. They wanted to be the Disney of Korea and then Asia, but they wanted it high end and mature. If Disney is young and vibrant and colorful and wholesome, they wanted to become high end Disney, but high end and mature. Because if you look at their structure, they have TV, music, and leisure. So under leisure would be golf and food, and then TV, they had talent management for their actors, and they had production company for their actors. They also had the ad agency division. And then for their music, they had their own producers, they had their own dancers, and they also had their own talent management. All of this is the exact same setup of Disney. The problem is that they didn't have the patience to actually work their way up into the ladder. What they wanted was instant success. And for a really, really long time, it actually worked. They have Big Bang. And the reason they became so big as an agency was because of Big Bang. And it was that strategy. It was fake it till you make it. From the get go, Big Bang was positioned as the artist of all idols, even though GD had so many plagiarism accusation. Like, oh, okay, you're still positioning him as an artist, but that is how he worked. Like Yang Yang Sok, he was all about positioning. The productions were big, they were expensive, they were glamorous. But the thing is that if you're going to spend your money, if you're going to spend a lot of money, then you better have the cash flow. And they did have cash flow in the beginning, because right after Big Bang, they had 21. And then when Big Bang was starting to slow down and then they disbanded 21, they had Blackpink. So they always had this group that would give them the money that could sustain them until Blackpink didn't resign, right? They didn't resign, and they weren't fast enough to produce another group that will replace Blackpink. And so they are left with nothing, no good cash flow for now. But also, the other thing is, along with positioning your group or your artists as high-end exclusive superstars, you also need to spend a lot because you need to make them glamorous. And the glamour is actually what made the artists get some of the best brand deals. Like Jisoo, Jenny has Chanel, Jisoo had Dior. And they did that by spending a lot of money on production. Even their concerts, it wasn't sold out, but it was always positioned to be sold out. So and the idea is that, okay, we're going to treat this as an investment. Even though the venue is not sold out, that is fine. We're just going to book bigger venues, make this a marketing strategy so that other projects could come in and money will be easier. The problem is that they weren't able to sustain it. So now they weren't able to sustain it primarily because they did not take care of, they did not plan the group very well. They didn't plan Blackpink well, and they didn't plan the replacement for Blackpink well. Baby monsters, maybe they're going to become bigger. Ion is my bias, so I hope she becomes successful, but I don't think that it's going to be as fast as Blackpink. I think that kind of positioning has had its time, and I think they need to find a new one. It has been overused. Like 21 has the same positioning, they have the same branding, and then they just reuse the same positioning and the same image and the same branding with Blackpink. And I think the market is just sick of it, and they want something new. The problem is that they're giving the same concept to baby monsters. That's why I think it's not going to be as fast. That's why they really are in trouble. The money isn't flowing as fast as it should be flowing. Bang Luna said, I was thinking about music in general and related things to your artists. I said 5 year correction, the last 10 years. Danji is asking, Fairlane, do you think YG is going downhill because of YG's legal issues? He was punished by the court but didn't go to prison. Um, was it his legal issues? I don't think it is his legal issues, quite honestly. I uh, I think it should be his legal issues. I think he should have gone to jail, and I think he should have been sentenced for way more crimes. But he wasn't. Okay, so that's the end of the story. We don't have any control over their justice system. I think it's more about how they handle their business. That's the whole point. The mere fact that they weren't pumping. I know a lot of people are like complaining about companies pumping so many groups one after the other. Like SM is launching another group, JYP is launching another group. You know, they had like Twice, and then ITZY, and then NMIX, and then this and that. So like, oh, they're not able to take care of their groups. But the truth is that they have to do that because they cannot afford a lull. Because you need the cash flow. If you have a business, you need the cash flow. And if you have a group like Twice, for example, who's been there for a really long time, number one, the structure of the contract changes, and it becomes the group or the artist actually starts getting more share than the agency. So the agency is earning less, right? But then you still have the same amount of people to maintain. You still have the same amount of office expenses, legal expenses that you need to pay for. And so the only way you can keep the money coming is to have groups, new groups constantly coming in. And because things are changing so fast, they just need to continue getting new artists until somebody hits, right? So that the cash flow starts to come in. YG didn't do that. They were like, no, we don't produce a lot of groups. We're exclusive. YG's Yang Yang Sok's famous quote is that he does not care about quantity, he only cares about quality. Like he always says that when it comes to music, I'm all about quality. I'm not going to rush into my next single because we're all about quality. We want to make sure that whatever it is that we produce will be a hit and whatever. And that is fine. The thing is that the market is so small, their market is small, that it's not that one hit is not actually generating enough money to sustain the entire business. And that really showed with the Blackpink concert. Like they had they did a stadium tour. They couldn't sell out all of the venues. They sold out some, in all fairness, they sold out some, specifically some parts of Asia, but they did not sell out many of the venues. But they had to pay for it. And then they released a statement that everything is sold out and whatever. So now you release a statement like that, people are going to expect, investors are going to expect their money back. So now you have to pay their share even if you don't have it. So and that is considered, they considered it marketing, expecting that that's going to pay off by getting more endorsements, brand partnerships, getting more projects. But then Blackpink started to slow down and concentrate on their own careers. So the bottom line is that they did not plan it well. It took them so long before they release another group, they launch another group, they debut another group, and they're not ready. Baby monsters, maybe they will become big, but they're not ready. And I think a huge part of the reason is the concept. It's just such a overused concept by now. It's the same concept as 21, same concept as as Blackpink. I think he needs to. And this seven, by God, they are so talented. I would say that this is the most talented bunch they've had. Of all the groups that they've put together, this is the most talented, male or female. This is the most talented that they've had. But it's not a good concept for them. They need something unique. Aren't they going back on tour? There are, yes, so they mentioned that they're going to go back on tour 2025 or 2026. I honestly think that this is just what my thought process was. I think it their decision whether to go on tour or not would highly depend on the success of their individual careers, because honestly they are strongest together, right? As a group, I'm talking about Blackpink, they are strongest together. And I think it would have depended, like, if one or two actually became really big, like big enough to command her own tour or whatever, then probably either their comeback will be on a smaller scale, or they are going to delay it or not come back at all as a group. But if none of them makes it big enough to go on a tour on her own, then I thought, oh, maybe they're just gonna come back together. So I think it's still like that will still. So I guess that will depend on the result of the albums of um Lisa, Jenny, and Jisoo. At this stage, only Rosie has actually launched her own album, released her own album, highly successful as we know. So, but the question is, even though that album is highly successful, the question is, can you fill an arena? Can you sell out an arena on your own? If you go on a concert, can you sell out an arena on your an arena tour on your own? That's a question, right? So, um, I don't think she's ready for that yet. Rosie is my favorite member, but I don't think she's not there yet. I think she needs to work a little bit more on her music, like release more, like more materials, more songs, solidify her positioning, and then she'll be ready, but not yet. So I guess it'll depend, like Lisa, Jisoo, and Jenny. Um, Rosie, good night. YG Kianan said, YG Stan attacked me when I mentioned feeling sorry for Bemon and that pressure they must feel because the company's future is riding on their success. And for how young they are, it might not end well. They are all very, very young. As I've said, I think this is the most talented bunch of all the groups that YG has ever launched, ever debuted. And I mean from the beginning, okay, all time. I think this is the best, most talented. So it's just all going to depend on how they are going to be managed and how their career is going to progress. Um, why BP seems so popular, but then they are not. They're marketing. They are popular. They're popular, but I think um they have a very good marketing and PR strategy, and they have a very good marketing and PR team. That is one of the biggest probably their biggest advantage. And so they really do seem bigger than they actually are, but they are big. It's just that I don't think they're as big as they are projected to be, but they're big.